Later,
All right, the president in Vegas reminding Americans, lower taxes trumps bigger government. Let's check it out. And welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. Live pictures, Las Vegas, where the president will soon hold an event celebrating America's new tax policy. The working class, places like Las Vegas and really anywhere, are absolutely loving this new policy. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, way bigger tax returns. Trump has truly become the new hero of the working class as Democrats continue a scam that they've been pulling for decades, claiming to tax the rich while decimating the middle class. There are two offered solutions to this country's biggest problem, and that is affordability. Republicans want to let you just have more of your money. They're just not going to take as much out of your paycheck. Democrats want to take as much as they can with claims that they will redistribute it effectively through government programs. Have you been watching the news the last couple of months? Because at this point, you really have to question the brain power of anybody voting for the Democrat plan on affordability. Here was the president talking about this earlier today.
What's happening is people are finding out that in their tax return, they're getting a big refund, much bigger than they thought. So it's no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. I think wait. I think it's going to be amazing. But if you look at what they're doing in New York and California, they're raising taxes and they're driving people out.
They're driving people out. Democrats are watching their tax base flee and doubling down by adding more taxes. This is not an intelligent political party. It's happening because a large subsection of their voter base, including the very high energy left flank, is captivated by this kind of rhetoric.
I ran for mayor. I said I was going to tax the rich. Well, today, we're taxing the rich. I'm thrilled to announce we've secured a pied-à-terre tax, the first in New York's history. This is an annual fee on luxury properties worth more than $5 million, whose owners do not live full-time in the city. Like for this penthouse, which hedge fund CEO Ken Griffin bought for $238 million. This pied-à-terre tax is specifically designed for the richest of the rich, those who store their wealth in New York City real estate, but who don't actually live here. This is a fundamentally unfair system that hurts working New Yorkers. Now, it's coming to an end.
Unfair. New York's Mayor Zohran Mamdani, in a clip released last night, spiking the football. He finally convinced Kathy Hochul in the state legislature to let him tax some rich people, which is all he wants to do. He's pretending this is a really big deal. In reality, the truth is Mamdani has completely failed. He wanted to drop the hammer on the wealthy, and Albany said, no way. Because even New York Democrats, anybody with a brain, acknowledges that these blue states have a massive problem with capital flight. All the money is going to Florida, Texas, Tennessee. New York City has lost 500,000 residents since COVID. Think about how much money that is. Most of those were people that were doing pretty well, too. Even New York Democrats are not going to let some communist idiot with a big smile erode this tax base any further. But they threw him his little scrap, right? Here's your little pied-à-terre tax. You can run around and brag about this, Zohran. He claims it's going to raise $500 million a year. If he gets half of that, I'll be impressed. And that, even at the estimate that they're giving at $500 million, would still be just a very small fraction of the massive deficit here in New York that is destroying his socialist agenda. He can't do any of the things he's promised because we don't have any money. Vilifying the wealthy is a vicious scam, as old as left-wing politics, of course. Take a listen to Pocahontas attacking the world's richest man back in 2021.
The world's richest freeloader evidently has a very thin skin. But you know the part that really makes me angry about this? It's on behalf of every public school teacher, every waitress, every computer programmer, every street cleaner who actually paid taxes. And that means they paid more than Elon Musk did. These guys not only get to rake it all in, but then rub everybody else's nose in it and declare how they did this all on their own when they were subsidized by the federal government and subsidized by every waitress and by every public school teacher who paid their taxes.
Not here to vilify or to support and defend the rich, but all of that was a complete fabrication. And again, we're not here to defend billionaires. Let them do that on their own. But let's just point out one thing for Liz Warren. Elon Musk responded to that and said, for those wondering, I will pay over $11 billion in taxes that year of 2021. $11 billion in taxes. So it's just a flat out lie. And Joy Reid just sat there nodding along with it, because this is what they do. They lie. They use these tricks in language, and they do it because it infuriates their base. It motivates their base. And our government needs a villain to blame for what it has done to our society. And that's the most important part. Not here to defend billionaires, not here to vilify them either. This is a capitalist country. You don't like it? Go somewhere else. The government has ravaged your paycheck. They have wasted all of your money. They have driven us into insane deficits, and they need more. So they need a villain. They need someone else to blame. But raiding the wealthy actually doesn't get them anywhere when you think about it. They could take all the money from billionaires. They would spend that in a month. The middle class, tens of millions of people, holds by far the largest tax base for them. Mamdani dancing around screaming to tax the rich like an idiot. A month ago, this man was demanding that we raise property taxes on every single New Yorker. It's all a scam. They want everybody's money. They just talk about the 1% to get you to vote for them, because it's very easy to vilify and to hate the 1%, the richest people in the country. It's just a communist tactic. That's all it is. Listen to Kathy Hochul talk about this new pied-à-terre tax. She talks about it in a way that you would think that the richest people in our society, who, by the way, pay for the vast majority of everything that we have socially, you'd think the richest people in society had never contributed a dime until they dreamt up this pied-à-terre tax.
This is a targeted surcharge on second homes and investor-owned apartments worth over $5 million. Homes that, in many cases, sit vacant for a large part of the year. We have the inventory. They're part of our skyline, but those people are not part of our city. Those who benefit from the city without living in a full-time capacity should contribute to the costs that it takes to run the city.
Those who benefit from the city should contribute to the costs. The governor of New York claiming that the wealthy contribute nothing. The top 1% pays 50% of society's bills, literally. Zoran outside Ken Griffin's penthouse, and Ken Griffin has tons of money, right? Easy to hate this guy. He paid a $5.3 million mansion tax just for the privilege of buying the apartment. The sales tax on the mansion was $5.3 million. He pays $850,000 a year in property taxes just for that one home. Zoran Mamdani says that's not fair to the city, alleging that Ken Griffin is somehow getting more from the brief time that he spends in New York, which is probably 6 or 8 weeks a year, than he's paying for. He needs to pay more for the privilege of being here for that period of time. Take a moment and process how ridiculous that claim is. At $850,000 a month, he's paying just to have a house in the city. And Mamdani supporters just cheer this on because they don't have the capacity to really think about it. And again, I'm not trying to make you feel sorry for the wealthiest people in the world. They got tons of cash. I don't feel sorry for them. But I'm trying to prove a point that the rich are being scapegoated by the political class for what they have done to your society, for the incompetence and the flagrant mismanagement of our government. That's what's happening right here. We should all be united in a visceral disdain for the people who've destroyed this country with overspending. That's what it should be. The rich and the poor and the middle class should not be fighting amongst themselves. We should all be looking at the government right now saying, this is your fault. We need to replace you. They've destroyed this country with overspending. They've destroyed your paycheck with the inflation that came with all that overspending. Just this week, J.D. Vance and the fraud task force in the Trump White House closed down 500 fake hospices just in Los Angeles County. 447 of them to be exact. There were that many fake hospices in one county in this country stealing your money from the government. That happened in a state that was just caught giving out free $50,000 sex change operations to homeless illegal aliens. Homeless illegal aliens are getting fake cans and whatever they do downstairs. Homeless illegal aliens. In Boston, the mayor is handing out $500 gift cards to queer and trans migrants so they can get free massages and haircuts. $500 gift cards. Just anybody who wants them, here's some free money. We've given these people so much money, they're literally running out of ideas for ways to spend it, while guilting Americans into believing that we need to pay them more money and vilifying the rich guys who are paying tens of millions of dollars a year in taxes and creating thousands and thousands of jobs that have created this economy that's $20-25 trillion a year. Imagine buying that. Imagine having a functioning brain and believing the people sitting next to me on the screen. Imagine believing it'll get better if the government just gets a little more revenue. If we just get this pied-à-terre tax, just one more little bit, it'll all be rainbows and unicorns after that. Alex Marlow is the editor of Breitbart, joins us now. Good to have you back on. Your reaction to this? I mean, the budgets of New York, California, even the federal government have skyrocketed in recent years, up 40-50%. They say the rich aren't paying enough, though.
Yeah, the fair share argument, that's so great. I mean, if you look at the math on this, Rob, and I know you have, that the wealthiest 1% in the country are paying the vast majority of our taxes, 38%, even though they comprise, they pay 38% of total taxes, top 10% pays 70% of the taxes, top 50% pays 97% of the taxes. So they really are just getting this argument the Democrats are making doesn't really make a lot of sense. But what struck me about this particular ad for Mamdani is how he's basically saying to Ken Griffin, how dare you keep an apartment in New York City? This is not a city for people who actually add to the economy. This is for welfare queens. It's for trans. It's for illegal alien criminals. But you, who actually is a productive member of society who employs tons of people, you got to go. Like, you got to get out of here. And I just find that to be just so ridiculously stupid. At the same time, he's doing the government-run grocery stores, which where have we seen that before? Cuba, Venezuela, Soviet Union. These things don't work. And he wants to do that at the same time. He is running a horrible experiment, and I kind of can't wait to see how it goes.
It is something else. And yeah, I mean, you've got Ken Griffin paying $75,000 a month in property taxes, and you've got the mayor standing outside saying that's not fair. He's got one home, and he pays $75,000 a month in taxes on it, and the mayor's saying he's the problem. That's the bad guy.
Well, that's not fair.
Yeah, go ahead.
It'd be fair if he paid $1 million, right? A month, $1 million a day. That's fair.
That's more fair. Got to leave it there. It's a tight show. Alex Marlow, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Rob.
All right, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik of New York joins us now. Good to have you back on the show. I want to start with Mamdani and this attempt to kind of flex this new tax as a victory, this pied-à-terre tax. In reality, as I think you and I both understand, he's nowhere near fixing the budget hole that he has with this tax, and they're not going to get the $500 million that they think they're going to get. They're not even going to get that. But the state legislature, and I think Albany threw him a little bone, giving him this. They know that more serious taxes than this will further erode the budget, and that there's really no way out of this the way Mamdani wants to get there.
Well, first of all, it's an example of Mamdani talks about affordability, but what he's really doing is making New York City even more unaffordable. It's also going to further exacerbate the mass exodus of families, of businesses, of property owners, and we see there's no other state in the nation where more people left last year than New York State. And it also encapsulates Kathy Hochul. She had promised not to raise taxes, and what did she do on tax day, no less? She bent the knee to the socialists and agreed to raising taxes, breaking her promise for New Yorkers. So this is an example of single-party Democrat rule. The socialists have taken over the New York Democrat Party, and it's a harbinger of what's to come nationally. The socialists are full-blown mainstream in the Democrat Party.
I don't understand how, I mean, when people, you have two choices. You can either vote to just let yourself have more of your money, or give more to this government that has proven itself time and time again to just be so wasteful and inefficient. I mean, the stories that we've been hearing the last couple of months have just been insane. How do you vote for people that just want to take your whole paycheck and redistribute it to you? I just don't get it.
Well, first of all, it's interesting that you asked that, Rob, because people, the media, the legacy media, talks about how Mamdani has a mandate. He does not. He barely broke 50%, and that is an underperformance in the city of New York, where he was the Democrat Party nominee. Typically, they get in the 70s or 80%. He's at war with the New York City Council in terms of disagreements. So it's going to be a rocky couple of years ahead for, unfortunately, the people of New York. And the just sheer lack of competency, their inability to shovel the snow. It was a disaster in his first 100 days in office. And there's nothing more communist and socialist than in the first 100 days, they set up a museum to celebrate his leftovers of his Taco Bell. I mean, it's so, you can't even make this stuff up. And ultimately, the New York people are going to suffer.
It is parody. I want to switch gears before I let you go. You became a star after a battle with the heads of our Ivy League universities in a congressional hearing. Anti-Israel protesters, if we recall at the time, rioting and taking over campuses. It was such a humiliation. Our university presidents failing to act, terrified of angering the radical left. You got them to admit on Capitol Hill that their radical bias, in front of Congress in 2023, you got them to admit their politics and just how distorted they see the world and how distorted they handle their campuses. I want to go back to that moment we all remember. Just play it out.
Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate MIT's code of conduct or rules regarding bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
I've heard chants, which can be anti-Semitic depending on the context.
Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's rules or code of conduct? Yes or no?
If the speech turns into conduct, it can be harassment, yes.
Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be, depending on the context.
Seen it like 20 times. Every time you see it, it's like you can't believe it was real. You got a book out about all of this called Poisoned Ivies, the inside account of the academic and moral rot at America's elite universities. Tell us about the book and what we'll learn reading it.
So this is a blockbuster behind-the-scenes deep dive into not only that hearing, but what happened at each of these universities and more. It created an earthquake in higher education that really didn't happen overnight. This was a backsliding at our colleges and universities over many decades. But that hearing was the most viewed hearing in the history of Congress. It had 1 billion views in a week, and it reset the course of higher education. So it talks about Harvard, Penn, Columbia, MIT, and then it also talks about universities that are getting it right, like Vanderbilt, like University of Florida, University at Austin. So if you're parents or students or any American who's worried about education, since these institutions often educate our next generation of leaders, you will want to buy this book, Poisoned Ivies. It's already a bestseller, #1 book on Amazon on its debut. It is flying off the shelves, and it's a real look at how to conduct effective congressional oversight and why we as Americans need to fix our broken higher education system.
That's something else. Good title for it, Poisoned Ivies. Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right. So you might be watching us on Optimum right now, a cable operator in New York and other states like Texas and West Virginia. Tonight, we can tell you that Optimum has indicated that they may cancel us from their lineup as early as Saturday. We're asking you to not let them do that. Optimum is the only major cable company not to renew Newsmax, now one of the country's most watched cable channels. If you're an Optimum cable or broadband subscriber, let them know you want Newsmax on your TV. You can call a toll-free number, 844-5-NEWSMAX. Demand they keep us on the air. More information at iwantnewsmax.com right there on the screen. Stand up for a free press. Stand up for Newsmax today. We appreciate your help in that one. All right, coming up here after the break, Trump says Iran has agreed to give up its nuclear material, a huge development today, as it looks like the regime will have to shut down its oil production very soon amidst this blockade. We've got that all coming up. And then later in News from the Left, a trans representative at an endometriosis charity was a bridge too far.
A Social Security update. Millions collect Social Security, but 70% of Americans don't get their full benefits. Now, a new report shows how to boost your Social Security by as much as $188,000. Author Matthew Allen reveals 5 key strategies in a new report. Newsmax calls it the best guide for retirees. Everyone needs this free Social Security report. Act today to get your full benefits.
Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America. With trillions of dollars vanishing from the stock portfolios of retiring Americans, many hardworking people I speak with are concerned about the holdings in their IRAs. But I have good news for you. Our team at Swiss America can show you how easy it is to own gold in your IRA. You see, even with economic turmoil all around us, gold continues to not only be a safe haven, but is also increasing to all-time highs. The volatility of markets has created a lot of undue stress for people. Wouldn't you like that peace of mind that diversifying into metals can provide? For over 40 years, Swiss America has helped people just like you own precious metals in your IRAs. So don't miss this opportunity. Call or text our team at the number on your screen to receive a free copy of our Gold IRA brochure today.
I'm Arthur Lee, inventor and CEO of LifeVac, but most importantly, I'm a dad first.
Over 10 years ago, I watched my dad design and build the first LifeVac in our garage. Now, that device has saved thousands of lives.
The LifeVac saved my life in 1-2 seconds.
It's a device that saved my son's life.
A choking accident can happen anywhere. Order your LifeVac now.
Don't wait another minute. A life might depend on it. Go to lifevac.net or call 877-543-3822.
Welcome back. The War Secretary Pete Hegseth had the Iran and Strait of Hormuz update this morning. Administration widening its blockade to include contraband and any vessels suspected of trying to reach Iranian territory. All the oil, all trade has been stopped going into Iran. It's a big deal. Iran says if the Iranian talks collapse, they are locked and loaded, ready to go back in. The president said today that Iran is willing to give up its nuclear material.
We have a very good relationship with Iran right now, as hard as it is to believe. And I think it's a combination of about 4 weeks of bombing and a very powerful blockade. The blockade is maybe more powerful than the bombing, if you want to know the truth. Very important is that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, and they've agreed to that. Iran's agreed to that, and they've agreed to it very powerfully. They've agreed to give us back the nuclear dust that's way underground because of the attack we made with the B-2 bombers.
So that's a big development there. Rick Grenell, Trump's envoy for special missions, joins us now. Rick, if Iran is actually willing to give up its nuclear material, have they realized that there's no way to dupe us again like they did with Obama and John Kerry?
Well, for one thing that you can be sure of, President Trump and J.D. Vance, the vice president, are watching very closely on that. We've learned the lessons from Barack Obama. We certainly know that the Iranians are not truthful. The current regime is a regime that lies constantly. So we are holding them to account as much as possible. What I love about President Trump here is that we haven't had a president ever that so easily flows between diplomacy and military action, always trying to allow there to be room for diplomacy. It's not just always a military option. And I love that about the president. He's watching very closely. He, in real time, is evaluating what's working. Is this a time for diplomacy? Is this a time to keep pushing on the leverage? But I'll tell you one thing. I've spent my entire career watching the Iranian issue, dealing with the Iranian issue of them lying to us, causing all sorts of terrorism. We are on the cusp of an incredible success story here, where Iran, the regime, has been wiped out at the top, and we, through diplomacy and a series of military actions, have really brought them to their knees. Right. And President is allowing them to have a peaceful out if, and it's a big if, we can make sure that they're telling the truth.
If you can verify that. I mean, the blockade, it sounds like is going to force Iran to shut down its oil facilities very soon, which is a really big deal because then they decay if they're not running. That's a huge deal. That's such a huge chunk of their economy. But, you know, it's interesting, Rick, that Iran we're in a ceasefire, but we're blocking their entire economy from functioning, and they're not retaliating on that. They haven't broken the ceasefire in that moment. Does that tell you anything about where they are?
Well, I think it's a combination of the leadership. The top leadership is gone. There's chaos within that regime right now. And the success of the military campaign and offering a way out through diplomacy. I think all of this is working together. Iran usually gets money from either cash, credit, or sanctions relief. We've done a very good job of stopping the sanctions relief, freezing up the credit so that no country is giving it credit. But we've had to deal with the cash crunch because remember, Presidents Obama and Biden gave them billions of dollars in cash credit and sanctions relief. So we have to deal with that fact. And I think right now, the blockade is really freeing up the fact that they're getting cash. They're not able to do it right now.
I got 5 seconds left. Do you feel like we're close?
We're very close. This could be incredibly successful and generational change.
Rick Grenell, good to see you. Thanks so much. Coming up, why did 10 Republicans vote to shield Haitian asylum seekers from deportation today?
I'm Michael Savage, and I was conservative before conservative was cool. Do you realize how crazy the liberals in this country have become? I do. You want to get me started today? I'll get started. Watch Michael Savage and the Savage Nation every Sunday night.
IRS. 3 letters that strike fear into everyone, and for good reason. The IRS is the most powerful collection agency on earth, and being in debt to the IRS can have serious consequences. Oftentimes it begins with the IRS sending you a collection letter, but then escalates, and before you know it, you're having your paychecks garnished, your bank account seized, even your home or business could be at risk.
My problem was I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I was trying to take on the IRS by myself. I have 5 children, I'm trying to take care of my kids, and it was a lot of stress.
I owed the IRS over $10,000. They told me the possibilities of garnishing my wages to resolve this debt that I owed them.
I owed a lot of money to the IRS, almost $15,000. Well, there was nothing I could do about it. I was just overwhelmed at what to do.
These stories are all too common, but thankfully, there's Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 most trusted tax resolution firm. Optima's experts have helped thousands of people with stories just like these resolve their tax debt.
I owed $15,000. I only had to pay $3,500, and now my debt is clean. I don't owe anything. It was easy, like 1, 2, 3.
Since I've settled everything with the IRS, with Optima Tax help, I'm going to be able to succeed instead of just worry.
They sent the paperwork in for the debt to be cleared, the liens to be taken off. Now I'm a happy camper now. If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call.
So don't wait. Today you have options. Tomorrow you might not. Optima's tax professionals are standing by, ready to help you now.
For a free consultation, call 800-375-1215. That's 800-375-1215.
Optima Tax Relief. As Americans, we're fair and logical. 83% of us favor requiring a photo ID to vote. In fact, most of the civilized world requires it, but not us. We need to be able to trust that only eligible Americans are casting ballots. Democrats oppose voter ID for no coherent reason. Republicans favor it but haven't acted. What are they waiting for? Call your United States senators and tell them to pass the Save America Act today.
Did you hear about SHIELD, that test for colon cancer?
No, what?
It's just a blood test.
No.
Exactly.
SHIELD is for people 45 plus at average risk, not high risk for colon cancer. Ask your doctor about FDA-approved SHIELD.
Dale, you really need to get that colon cancer screening.
Yeah, it's been forever.
Dale, we can do it with just a blood test. SHIELD.
SHIELD is for people 45 plus at average risk, not high risk for colon cancer. Ask your doctor about FDA-approved SHIELD.
Just days after that vicious hammer attack in Florida, 10 House Republicans today, Bacon, Lawler, Malliotakis, Salazar, and many others, voted to extend temporary protected status for 350,000 Haitians in our country, shielding them from deportation, measure passing the House It won't go any further than that, though. Some GOP members argued that removing these Haitians would decimate our workforce and our economy. Haiti is a failed nation, has been for decades. 12 million people live there. We certainly cannot save them all, and we can tell you that 65% of the ones that are here are currently on welfare in this country, which makes that vote by Republicans so interesting. Chad Wolf, the former DHS secretary, joins us now. Mercedes Schlapp also with us. Chad, 65% on welfare means they can't assimilate. That's a public charge. The asylum goes back 16 years to that terrible earthquake, but this made no sense. Why did Republicans do this?
Yeah, it's a great question. Look, I can only guess. They've got a midterm election here in about 6.5, 7 months. That's probably they're feeling the pressure here. I think it's important to remember, when we hear things like, oh, all of them are going to go back right away, and so it'll decimate the workforce, that's simply not the case. No. A large portion of them will try to adjust status. They all will not leave immediately, but they will be removable. And will allow DHS and ICE to go after some really dangerous ones and to remove them. So This idea that all 350,000 are going to leave in a 2-month or even a 1-month span is ridiculous. And so I think we need to be honest with ourselves, and I think this is what the administration is doing. TPS, just in the very title of TPS, is temporary protective status. And as you indicated, since 2010, Haiti has had this. When are we going to stop the charade and actually enforce the law? Yeah. And if those members of Congress want to provide some type of protections for Haitians, then figure it out. Don't go through TPS.
Yeah, there's nothing temporary about this. And Mercy, it's important to remember that so many of these Haitian asylum seekers tore up their paperwork when they crossed the border. They had been living in South American countries, which means they were just, again, going through third countries to get to the richest one, which is illegal. That's a lot of these people that are just shopping for the best deal they can get. That's not asylum.
Well, I mean, you want to ensure that we're able to enforce a legal immigration system here in the United States. And there are those who apply legally and wait in line. And America's a very generous country, giving over 1 million visas over to come into America. And I got to just tell you, when you have individuals that for example, cross the border, come here illegally, President Trump has done the most effective job in stopping that madness. When it comes to TPS, temporary protective status, we know that is a legal process where the Haitians have come here under that, as the Venezuelans and Colombians and other groups. And I got to tell you, the problem is that it's not temporary. It's now then extended to a permanent status where it lacks transparency in terms of the process, where it's never ending in the sense that these people are in legal limbo in a lot of cases. And I got to tell you, the judicial activism that we've seen behind this, like, for example, with Judge Chen, who basically has refused and stopped President Trump in these temporary protective status cases where the administration has lost and these individuals are still able to stay here. Those individuals, if in fact they are being, they fear for their lives in their countries, they should apply for political asylum. That would be the way to do it.
That would be the way to do it. I got to leave it there. Mercy, Chad, good to see you both. Thanks so much. Up here after the break, the president says Diet Coke cures cancer, and the media, of course, goes berserk. Next with Rick and Ed.
Washington has a history of turning ordinary men into predators at the highest levels of government. Tonight, Paula Jones is going to join me with a first-hand account of suing President Clinton and being a victim of harassment at the hands of America's most powerful politicians.
Big media will never stop their antics, their bias, their ugly insinuations, their nasty attacks. Well, they may never stop, but I will never stop exposing them.
I lost 110 pounds. You couldn't tell at all because of my excess skin. Sono Bello changed that in one visit.
Introducing the new Lift EX, the just one visit, total body transformation everyone is talking about.
I am super happy with my results.
I decided to give Sono Bello a try. Look at me, I have a silhouette. You can see my waist.
Lift EX is Sono Bello's breakthrough 360-degree body lift alternative. Our body contouring experts sculpt, tighten, and lift your stomach, waist, thighs, and backside, all in just one visit with less downtime.
Sono Bello targeted the areas diet exercise could not do. I found me again.
Sono Bello has over 50,000 five-star reviews, and Lift DX is exclusively available at Sono Bello, America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist. Book your free, personalized consultation today. Easy monthly plans make your best body more affordable than ever.
This year is my year thanks to Sono Bello.
Call Sono Bello for your free consultation today.
What if your GLP-1 for weight loss was as easy to take as a mint? Small, discreet, and easy. Think about that. No needles. This is compounded tirzepatide, a mint-flavored tablet designed to fit into your daily routine. You simply let it dissolve under your tongue. No mixing, filling, or storing your own syringes. Tirzepatide helps curb appetite and supports healthier eating by reducing cravings, including for sweets and carbs. And when your appetite feels under control, it can make it easier to eat less and move intentionally towards your weight loss goals. If weight loss has been on your mind, this may be the needle-free option you've been looking for. A simple daily tablet, as easy to take as a mint. Getting started is fast and surprisingly accessible. Just complete a quick online physician consultation. Here's how.
Save $50 with promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim.
When my mother heard about Pure Talk's latest offer, she said, "Michael, that's a third of what I'm paying my current provider. How's that even possible?" I said, "Ma, your current provider spent $12 billion last year on advertising and promotion. Pure Talk hired me to make a few commercials on my iPhone. That's why you can get unlimited talk and text with plenty of data on a crazy fast 5G network for just $25 a month. You're welcome. Pure Talk, everything you need, nothing you don't."
Like a relentless weed, moderate to severe Crohn's disease symptoms can keep coming back. Break away to what's possible with Tremfya. With rapid remission at 12 weeks and fewer bowel movements and less abdominal pain at 4 weeks. Most patients achieve remission at 1 year, and some patients saw visible healing of the intestinal lining. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Healing is possible with Tremfya. Backed by over 15 years of clinical research. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today.
Not generally speaking, unruly.
The dehumanizing rhetoric of Adolf Hitler is once again alive and well.
This version of Biden is the best Biden ever.
Your dad argues that diet soda is good for him because it kills grass. It's poured on grass, so therefore it must kill cancer cells inside the body.
We can't have a healthy America without science. And the sooner that we put people in charge that respect science, the healthier we will be.
Oh, Mother of God. It is hard to be a funny president when the media has zero sense of humor. Donald Trump, the president, is a very funny, sarcastic guy. You know this about him. He's actually a lot funnier in private. But his New York wit is still very visible as he is in the White House. We see it all the time. It's quite obvious that the president was clearly joking in a private conversation that he had with Dr. Oz when he said that he believes that Diet Coke, which is his favorite drink, he's got the button on the Resolute desk at the Oval Office, that Diet Coke must kill cancer because it kills grass. It's a joke, right? Look at the headlines that came from that comment and from Oz saying that on Don Jr.'s podcast. The media turning this into a mini scandal, trying to persuade Americans into believing that Trump is so stupid that he thinks Diet Coke cures cancer. It reminded us of the press claiming that Trump told Americans to drink bleach, which is a narrative they've gone with for years now, after Trump wondered aloud if the power of disinfectant during COVID could somehow be manifested to kill COVID inside of the body. That's all the further that really went. And it turned into he's telling people to drink bleach. Yeah. The Wall Street Journal joined in on the nonsense. Out of all the questions their White House reporter could have asked at the briefing on Wednesday, here's what came from the Journal.
He argued that diet soda is good for him because it kills grass. and if you pour it onto the grass, the grass is killed, and it therefore must kill cancer cells. I'm wondering if you can, was this sort of an accurate description of how the president sees?
Look, as we all know in this room, I think you know the president has a very good sense of humor. It's one of his most underreported characteristics, I would say. I have heard him tell this joke before. I think the Wall Street Journal should get a better sense of humor.
Yeah, I mean, to say the least, right? Ed, Henry, Rick Leventhal join us now. Rick, I don't even know what to say to you. And the funniest thing is they're trying to paint the president as stupid. How stupid do you look if you don't understand that this is a joke?
Well, that's a very good way of putting it. And I think the truth is, we know the truth is that President Trump is actually a very brilliant man. He's very, very smart. A high IQ. And obviously a great business acumen. He knows how to read a room. He knows how to get stuff done. And he knows how to be funny, too. And sometimes people don't get his humor. I get that. But it does make them look ridiculous when they're focusing on this instead of the real news of the day. And there's so much news out there. For them to be focused on whether or not the president actually believes that Diet Coke kills cancer, well, I mean, come on.
Ed, it goes along with the dictator on day one, the fine people on both sides, drinking the bleach. Now Diet Coke cures cancer. They're turning this into a hoax. And again, they are the ones that look so ridiculous in this moment.
Guys, I hate to darken the mood, but I don't know if you heard, but Mikey from the Life cereal commercials apparently died from eating Pop Rocks and Coca-Cola. Remember that in the 1970s? It was a hoax. But if social media was around back then, the Wall Street Journal would have gone with it. There'd be tweets about it saying Mikey's dead because of Coca-Cola. This was an urban legend. It was a joke, like you say. And everyone just said, oh, that was funny. Yeah. And now, if it's Donald Trump and you have Trump derangement syndrome, you run with it. You go with it. You bring it up at the White House briefing where we're talking about the Strait of Hormuz and war and peace. Lebanon and Israel making peace for the first time in decades. And this is what the media talks about.
It is something else. So I got to give you guys one more. Ed, we'll stay with you for a second. Big trouble over at left-wing pretend media watchdog group Mediaite, which is a little rag that attacks us constantly. We can tell you that. Colby Hall, editor of Mediaite's newsletter, suspended for just completely fabricating quotes into his stories. Now, Mediaite sold this guy when they hired him as truly one of the most knowledgeable and connected media industry observers in America, bringing his unique brand of thoughtful intelligence, pulls no punches analysis to a platform that couldn't fit him more perfectly. Well, I agree, he does fit Mediaite perfectly. One of the made-up quotes was attributed to somebody who actually works at Mediaite. He just made up a quote for one of his coworkers. While attempting to explain himself, Ed, Colby Hall blamed AI and his spreadsheet process. Rich, huh?
It's like people who have claimed it was spreadsheets and whatnot when they plagiarized things back at the New Republic magazine years ago. Mediaite, you're right, is a complete left-wing rag. They've attacked Newsmax, me personally, many times with so many lies that I stopped even responding. And now I find out that one of the guys who's been attacking us just makes up quotes. And I remember years ago saying, look, this is not true. And people were saying, well, but he's a respected journalist. He's a journalist. Yeah. And now even Mediaite is saying he made it up. Yeah. You can't make it up, but he did make it up.
Rick, it was the spreadsheet process got him with a completely fabricated quote.
You know, it's one thing to borrow a line or two from Wikipedia or wherever to fill out a script or a story, but you're going to make up out of nowhere, just make up quotes from. There's so much real news in the world, so many people, real people actually saying real things that you don't have to make stuff up. You don't. You can just, like Brian Williams, you know, he was making up stories from the war zone. I never had to do that because there was always something real happening around us. There's no reason to embellish, and there's certainly no reason to attribute quotes to people who didn't say what you're saying they said, because you're going to get caught.
Well,
and this
Rick,
guy
not
did,
everybody had the stones to actually go. Not everybody had the stones to actually go into the war zone like you did, and Brian Williams was one of those. I got to leave it there. Ed, Henry, Rick Leventhal, good to see you guys. Thanks so much.
You too.
In case you thought Rosie O'Donnell was intelligent or a good judge of character.
You know the conclusion I've come to: men suck.
AI company Palantir makes critical decisions for governments around the world. In 2019, Palantir bought $50 million in gold in case of black swan events. Not surprising what followed. In 2020, a pandemic shut down the global economy. And in 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. In 2023, we had a regional banking collapse. And in 2026, could a 1929-style market crash be the final straw? Give Patriot Gold Group a call at 888-528-4290 before it's too late. Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold and silver dealer 9 years in a row. Home of the No Fee for Life IRA. Patriot Gold Group is patriots protecting patriots. Call now, 888-528-4290.
Doctors say having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care and pharmacy at home. Let me bring in Dr. McCullough to explain more.
Most people know when they're getting sick, but waiting to see a doctor is often too late.
So the key is having medicines before you need them.
Yes, and it includes doctor-prescribed medicines to treat common and serious issues like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, antibiotics, antivirals for flu, pneumonia, strep, ear and sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
So it is like having an urgent care at home.
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications and hospitalizations.
How do you know what to take?
Just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Great advice. I understand ordering is fast online, and we've put the website and $45 off code on the screen. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Think of all the places that could expose you to identity theft and financial loss. It only takes one mistake at your bank, hospital, or employer for a criminal to gain access to your personal information. And if they do, you and your money are at risk.
$110,000 of my hard-earned money gone.
With LifeLock, if your identity is compromised, we'll step in and fix it so you don't have to. Guaranteed. Our dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialists handle your case from start to finish. They contact institutions on your behalf, dispute fraudulent charges, and more. In fact, we're so confident that restoration is guaranteed. Plus, LifeLock offers the $1 Million Protection Package with coverage up to $3 million.
When I opened my mail and I had a check from LifeLock, they made me whole.
Call now or go online and use promo code 35OFF to save 35% off an annual plan for your first year. Enroll now.
Now for news from the left. You know, the trans community ends up in some weird places. Listen to this one. Across the pond in the UK, a trans woman appointed as a parliamentary representative to an endometriosis charity just last month, which is a chronic condition that only real women can have. You must have a uterus to have this issue. Steph Richards resigning after backlash to the ridiculous optics of a trans woman being the representative to an endometriosis charity. Also had been the CEO of Endometriosis South Coast in 2023 as well. Had to resign from that role following backlash from campaigners. Just bizarre in so many different ways. I guess passionate about this cause, but that's not flying. A little too weird for everybody in that one. Next up, in case you thought Rosie O'Donnell was in any way intelligent or a good judge of character, and I doubt that you did, this was her reaction to the Eric Swalwell scandal after she was such a fierce supporter of Swalwell.
Now, can we talk a little bit about Eric Swalwell? I know that guy. I spoke to him on the phone a couple times. Donated money to him, I believe. And then all this comes out about him. It's heartbreaking to me, you know. And I wrote him a little message, and I said, you know, Bill Clinton broke my heart, and now you did too. You know, the conclusion I've come to, men suck.
Really? Rosie O'Donnell hates men? I never saw that coming. And you know what? The funniest thing about it is, think about the way she talks about Trump based on this ridiculous E. Jean Carroll allegation that has so many holes in it. She calls him a rapist every day. But when it comes to Eric Swalwell, I'm just so disappointed in you, and men really suck. It's just so ridiculous. Rosie from, where does she live? Scotland, Ireland? Somewhere hiding out. Next up, another fake doctor going on with Piers Morgan to discuss Trump's dementia. This guy quickly giving up his real agenda. Take a look.
I believe that he is showing signs of dementia.
Did you express the same public warnings about Joe Biden?
I think that we missed that one, to be honest.
You've only piped up when it's Donald Trump. What do you say to those?
I say that humanity is in the most dangerous moment now that's ever happened in human history, because the man who is president is a malignant narcissist. He's attacking on an impulsive basis, based on the thrill he gets from destruction because he's a malignant narcissist, and based on his confused cognitive picture.
Oh, I'm just here to warn you about the dementia of Donald Trump. I've got no political agenda. He's a malignant narcissist. He's going to kill us all if we don't get him out of the White House right now. Good on Piers Morgan for revealing that from his guest. And finally, Kamala Harris is trying to learn how to do politics yet again. It's not going too well. Take a look.
Hey everyone, so I'm here in Charlotte. Since the start of Trump's war of choice, it's $15 more every time you fill up your tank of gas. The price of diesel has now gone up 80% since the start of the war.
Let's put the former vice president outside of a gas station. The gas is high. What was it when you were in the White House, honey? I think we forgot. Bad politics. All right, is Nancy Pelosi the greatest stock trader of all time? We went to Wall Street today to ask, and that is next.
You know Rob Finnerty. He's smart, bold, and stands strong for your values. Rob is fighting for you. Watch Finnerty weeknights only on Newsmax.
What if you could have shades like these for a fraction of big brand prices? With Shady Rays, you can. We're an independent company, so we do things differently. We offer high-quality polarized shades for a reasonable price. And we personally replace shades that get lost or broken. So far, we've racked up over 300,000 five-star reviews. I founded Shady Rays so that we can have sunglasses that stand up to whatever life throws at us. Order now and get 20% off site-wide at shadyrays.com.
There's a rhythm that picks up when life slows down. When you have ATTR cardiac amyloidosis, there's still beauty to tend, still joy to gather and give. It's about living for what you love and not letting ATTR-CM define who you are. Attruby is an oral medicine proven to help adults with ATTR-CM live longer and have fewer hospitalizations due to heart issues. Attruby helps slow the progression of ATTR-CM. Tell your doctor if you're pregnant, plan to become pregnant, or are breastfeeding, and about the medications you take. The most common side effects were mild and included diarrhea and abdominal pain. If you have ATTR cardiac amyloidosis, ask your cardiologist if Attruby is right for you. Time to get busy living.
Ever wished you could brew your own beer, but figured it was too complicated, too messy, too much effort? Well, now you can. Meet Pinter, the home beer system everyone's talking about. Fresh beer, brewed and tapped by you. No fuss, no guesswork. Just brew, chill, tap, done. Craft 12 pints with every brew. Crisp lager, juicy and hoppy IPAs, smooth stouts, and now including beer royalty, Lagunitas, the latest in our range of 30-plus beers and breweries on Pinter. Freshly tapped, Sumpin' Easy Remixed. A favorite from the archives, given a Pinter twist. Brew today with your friends. Bring the Lagunitas taproom into your home. You don't need a brewery in the garage. Just a Pinter. Right now, get your Pinter free with our flexible beer plan. Tap into the world's best beer experience. Free Pinter. Freshly brewed beer. Zero fuss. Go to pinter.com/beer to claim your offer today.
Mike Hammond here, founder of Signal Relief. Meet Dr. Beth Dupree, breast cancer surgeon for over 35 years.
In my surgical career, I have treated thousands of patients, and finding effective pain relief has always been a priority. Believe me, I was skeptical, but Signal Relief caught my attention because it actually works. Clinical trials show over 85% of participants felt relief within 72 hours, with nearly half noticing a significant difference in just 15 minutes. Just place it near or above wherever you have the pain, whether it's your back, your shoulder, your neck, or your knee. Cigna Relief Patch brings proven relief. I recommend it to my patients, family, and friends, and I get to witness and experience their pain relief firsthand, and that brings a smile to my face.
Join the hundreds of thousands who have experienced relief with the Cigna Relief Patch, and it comes with a money-back guarantee. Trust Dr. Dupree and me. The patch works.
Finally tonight, Wall Street's most legendary investor, Nancy Pelosi, now says on her way into retirement, now she's done, she supports a congressional stock trading ban, saying that she never thought that anybody in Congress was cheating the system.
I originally was reluctant on it because I didn't think our members were breaking the law. If they were, they would be prosecuted. So, but because families had investments in the rest, it didn't seem to me to be wrong. But if the public felt that way and the Congress wanted, I was all for the bill.
The lies this woman tells her nose should be 10 miles long. Our producer Brent went to Wall Street today to ask about Pelosi's decades of success in the stock market. Take a look.
Here on Wall Street, there's been many iconic investors over the years, from Warren Buffett to Ray Dalio. But former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi might be the best of them all.
Better investor than Warren Buffett?
She beat Warren Buffett by 3 times.
Yeah, I mean, that's us.
How did she do that?
Nancy Pelosi became rich by having inside information.
You're with Bo Dietl.
Your role in the Wolf of Wall Street.
You didn't try to bribe this FBI agent, did you?
No, I didn't try to bribe an FBI agent. You think I'm that stupid? No.
What the you say? I can't understand.
The last time you took these pills, you put your head in the macaroni out to pick it up.
I'd like to investigate Nancy Pelosi. I'll tell her right to her face. I want to investigate how you made all this money.
The Pelosi family has raked in a nearly 17,000% return during her 37 years in Congress. They call her the she-wolf of Wall Street.
17,000. And my guys who are the greatest stock pickers, they can't do anything comparison of the profits that she's made.
She's along the lines of a major institution. Definitely has some insider info, but who knows?
I think she should be investigated. This is crazy.
That much money illegally is crazy.
They're making $180,000, $200,000 a year. They got no money. They go into Congress. All of a sudden, they're worth $25 million. How does that happen? If Bo Dietl did that, and I had inside information, they'd be cuffing me. Nancy, you got a problem, because if I investigate you, definitely I'll bring the old handcuffs out.
Bo Dietl down on Wall Street talking Pelosi. I mean, it is incredible to listen to this woman and how easily she can just lie right through her teeth about what has been so obvious. Yet nobody gets numbers like that. Warren Buffett can't get numbers like that. How did she do it? We all know how she does it. She knows what's going to happen a month before anyone else does, and she bets on it like everyone else in Congress is doing. And then she has the audacity to come out and say, I never thought anybody was doing anything wrong. I've always thought everything was fine. That's why I never voted for a congressional stock trading ban. And by the way, even if they pass this thing, you don't think they're just going to give it to their proxy? Okay, now you bet on it for me, and then I'll get the money later. It ain't going to stop nothing. It's all corrupt. Infinity's up next. We'll see you back here tomorrow night. Have a good one.